of an ideology for fiscal conservative, was a Gingrich backer. That was extraordinary to hear his endorsement of Joe Biden over Donald Trump.
Well, not extraordinary if you're me, because I ran the 2016 convention, ran the 2012 convention too. But at the 2016 convention, Governor wouldn't even, after begged to come out for 20 seconds and tell the delegate to the state of Ohio. So, I mean, not endorsing Trump and endorsing Joe Biden, to me, a surprise. I don't shock even 1%. I think Democrats want to try to portray a group of Republicans as defectors to ill people. They probably got to do with John Kasich, who's been trashing Trump on another cable network several years.
And let me ask you
Kasich
this,
doesn't even make what he talks
economic
about.
headwinds facing this president. No U.S. president has won second. The unemployment rate was above 7.2%. It's currently at 10.2%. Does that make it extra difficult for this president to win a second term?
Well, it doesn't make it easier, and that's for sure. However, bigger question, do the American people sit here today believe that the economy isn't doing as well today because of President Trump? And I think, most people probably blame coronavirus. And the question in the campaign, and the campaigns are going to have to play defense and offense on the handling of the coronavirus, how that handling's affected the economy, and whether the handling was appropriate or not appropriate. So that's going to be a big question in the campaign. But I think most people sitting here today, reasonable people, probably believe that coronavirus is the reason the economy isn't doing as well as it could be, but it was doing very well before coronavirus.
Reince Priebus, thank you. Another person who's no stranger to the White House, Valerie Jarrett, former senior advisor to President Obama. And Valerie, tonight the headliner is going to be Michelle Obama,
pick better glasses.
The former first lady who you know well. And this speech tonight is different for her. It's much more personal. It's a character witness. What else can you tell us about it?
Well, first of all, Nora, she is so excited about having the opportunity to deliver this speech on the opening of the Democratic National Convention with a group of other speakers who reflect the deep, broad diversity of our country. It will feel very differently, for example, than the speech she gave back in 2008. She was the spouse of she was also experiencing what it feels like racist and sexist tropes directed at her, similarly to what Senator Harris is going through right now. After 8 years, she spoke again. She had worked hard to earn the respect of the American people. Many fell in love with her. And but now, after she's been in the White House, she is now Michelle Obama in her own right, a global figure, a global leader, immensely popular, and people respect and trust her. And so to use that platform, to use her voice, to be able to full-throatedly endorse and support Joe Biden, as you said earlier, talking about both his competency, his intellect, his ability to have a deep and abiding character and empathy. And so she's very excited, that's all I can say.
Well, Valerie Jarrett, thank you for joining us tonight. Coming up, we're from Senators Amy Klobuchar.
They're not even celebrity
two former
on the
rivals
side
of Joe Biden.
What stands
All right,
behind
I'm not
words?
doing the commercials, so we'll kind of hang until it comes back. Man, I don't care what your political affiliation is. This stuff's important. This stuff's really important. I don't care what your affiliation is. At the same time, open mind, man. Have an open mind. I don't have a political affiliation. I don't. The person that I feel is the best and the most respectful to not only the people of the country, but people of other countries. You know? Who has the least amount to gain and who has the best heart on it. Because even if you're really all there, if you have a card, it's going to, you're at least going to have some sort of internal dispute about what is right or wrong. And chances are, if you've got a good enough heart, it'll overdo those moral compasses that you have. But thank you to everybody on YouTube and Trovo and the one person that was here on Twitter. Satan! Cheese. My man. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm ignoring the rest of the chats right now on accident. It's not on purpose. Okay. No, you can't ban yourself. Hail Satan, my friend. Hail him. All right. And we'll go back to this now.
Federal government is dysfunctional and incompetent. It couldn't fight off the virus. In fact, it didn't even see it coming.
I like Cuomo. I do.
And that was New York Governor Andrew Cuomo from earlier
Cuomo,
this evening.
whatever.
13 of Joe Biden's former
That
rivals
dude.
for the Democrats are expected to appear at this week's convention. We're going to hear shortly from Amy Klobuchar, the senator from Minnesota, and John Dickerson already. And we'll come to you in just a minute. Let's listen first to Senator Klobuchar.
Like my
They
friend
skipped a
King,
hot celebrity,
I believe
which is
that
cool.
the right to vote is fundamental, and the post office is essential. Donald Trump just happens to be in my state today, trying to divide people instead of responding to the pandemic and the significant needs of our
You don't like
economy.
Cuomo, Shirley?
But
I like
Democrats,
him.
independents, and yes, many Republicans had enough of his divisiveness. Tonight, my friends, in contrast, we've heard a lot about how we can unite as Americans, about our shared values, our shared dreams, how we've come together in the face of crisis. But I want to be clear. Unity isn't about settling. It's about striving for something more. It isn't the end, it's the means. It's how we get stuff done. Unity
She
is
reminds
about
me of
reaching
somebody
out
that smells
toward a
too much
higher
like
purpose,
lotion.
A better future for all of us. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. It is more than a motto. It is the North Star for our democracy. Now more than ever, we need a president who will unite this country. We need a president who, in George Floyd's memory, instead of using the Bible as a prop, will heed its words, to act justly. We need a president for the workers who've lost their jobs because this administration is selling American workers out. We need to buy American. For the farmers and manufacturers and the people of rural America who are sick and tired of reaping what he's sown. We need a president who will look out for the seniors like my dad,
Seniors.
whose families now visit glass windows. Never it will be the last time they see them. We need a president for all of America. I come from the middle of this country where we believe in people joining together to solve problems. We seek common ground to reach higher ground. That's been Joe Biden's life's work. He's a man of scrappy, working-class roots, a man whose own hardships have only made him more determined to lift up those who have been left out. He understands redemption, and he knows resilience.
Didn't she talk
Joe
shit to him,
Biden's
too?
a man of experience. Barack Obama, better known tonight as Michelle Obama, he leaned on Joe for his strength and decency, and you can too. You know, most candidates, when they end their campaign, that day is a hard one. For me, it was a moment filled with great joy, because the day I ended my presidential campaign was also the day I endorsed Joe Biden. Joe ran for the same reasons I did when I announced my campaign in the middle of that blizzard on the banks of the Mississippi River. To cross the river of our divides, to bring this nation together, to be a president for all of America. As I said the day I endorsed him, if you feel stuck in the middle of the extremes in our politics, if you are tired of the noise and the nonsense, you have a home with me, and you have a home with Joe Biden. That's why I was so proud to stand with him then and across this great country. That's why we are all now standing united behind Joe and my friend Kamala. Our nation's motto is out of many, one.
Her tongue freaks me out.
As you're about to see, it's also the story of the Democratic primary. Thank you,
I know that's
America.
mean, but it does.
And that
Her too. It freaks her out too.
Klobuchar from Minnesota, where actually President Trump was there today in that battleground state. I want to bring in Anthony Salvanto, our director of elections and surveys, who is leading the largest
Started at 10. How did I
CBS News
know
has ever undertaken? And you see
that they would have to
with
talk
the
for an
map.
hour first?
So, Anthony, give us the status of this race.
Hey, Nora. Well, you mentioned that Biden lead. It is substantial moment anyway. Let me show you where folks will remember that a presidential election is, in fact, 50 state races. You win a state, you get its electoral votes. Well, we have been talking to voters in all 50, and you look at the map. On the states where you see blue, those are places where Joe Biden is leading in some form. The places you see states in red, that's where the president is leading in some form. Okay, now along the upper Midwest, these are states that every 4 years we talk about as battleground, close states. Your Pennsylvanias, Michigan, Wisconsin, and many others, those are leaning towards Biden. But what's maybe surprising a lot of people this year, Sun Belt, Arizona, where that's a toss-up right now. Georgia, which the president comfortably last time, that's a toss-up right now, and even Texas, barely leaning
answer that phone.
analysis. Well, is that majorities of voters in all of these states say that they're disappointed with the way that the administration was handling the coronavirus outbreak, and that's accruing. Folks are voting for Joe Biden, higher numbers, and that's what's shifting these states. And so the big result, Nora, which we will watch through the fall, is we've got an expanded map, more battleground states than anybody thought.
Which makes a very, very exciting 78 days ahead. Anthony Salvanto, thank you. I want to bring in CBS correspondent Ed O'Keefe, who's been following the Biden campaign since day one. Ed, we are about to hear from one of Biden's top, Bernie Sanders, shortly, the independent from Vermont. This is a prime speaking slot for him. What happened in 2016 and the fissures between him and Hillary Clinton.
That's right. Look, if a lot of what we've seen so far tonight from this virtual convention, Nora, is some cross between Big Brother, American Idol, and Telethon. What's yet to come is the important bridge building that usually happens at these conventions when the vanquished opponent speaks out on behalf of the winner. Democrats know they need to win every last vote they can get, especially from Sanders supporters. As you said, 4 years ago, he addressed the Democratic convention for about 30 minutes, and his critics say he did little to rally his supporters behind Hillary Clinton. Tonight, he's being given about 8 minutes. Not a lot of time for the verbose Vermonter to remind viewers of what he sees as the dangers of the president and a synopsis of why he's supporting Biden. We're told he will say in part, quote, "The price of failure is just too great to imagine." He's also expected to mention work that went on over this summer that brought Biden and Sanders supporters together to work on compromises, on proposals on things like climate change, criminal justice reform, and health care and foreign affairs. Mostly theoretical academic stuff that most voters won't ever read. But to Biden and Sanders, it was a big deal. Biden needs Sanders' political machine. Sanders needs Biden to take his ideas seriously. In many ways, they met in the middle. And tonight, we'll see how Sanders returns the favor.
What the fuck was that?
All right, Ed O'Keefe, thank you. As some 12% of Bernie Sanders supporters from the Democratic Party crossed party lines and voted for Donald Trump in the 2016 election, according to some analysis from the University of Massachusetts. So that's why this is all significant. Ahead, we're going to hear from former presidential candidate and Senator Bernie Sanders and former First Lady Michelle Obama.
Man.
Your house brought you together. Like, really together. And although together is great, together with more space is better. With Rocket Mortgage, you get personalized loan options.
Now you could turn on your own TV to damn watch commercials. Oh, I'll go back. I'm keeping an eye on it, and when the commercials go off, I don't know what terms and conditions shit there are about that. I don't need ADT taking me to court. So as soon as it comes back for commercials, I'll put it back on. Appreciate you tuning in, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Trovo. Don't everybody and watch on Trovo. I don't understand how somebody can sign up for Trovo and in one day have 100 followers. I've been doing that shit for 2 weeks. I've not had one viewer. Probably because I just do the just chatting stuff and now I don't play Warzone. I think that's where my problem is. I'm not playing Warzone all the time. Just kind of play it out, if you ask me, you know? Grounded, on the other hand, great game. Love to play Grounded. I need some friends, hint, hint, to download Grounded to play it. That would be nice. Almost to the end of Doom Eternal. That's really cool, too. I like that game. Go back to this little view here. There. So that way you know I'm not cheating you. But kinda. Hey, that's at school right down the street. Getting ready for 2nd grade online. My oldest just started homeschool today for the online courses. There was middle school. It was hilarious listening to his 70-something-year-old teacher scream into the camera like nobody could hear. It's funny. I've been a middle school teacher for 6 years. Echoed through the night. Yeah, man, watching them libtards. What you watching? Me watching them libtards? I'm watching this tard watch the libtards. That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah. Little shittlibtard. A shittlibtard. I forgot to put my partial in. I'm missing a tooth, y'all. Broke it on a French fry. Spent $1,600 on a partial tooth that I forget to wear because I work from home. Who the fuck do I have to impress? Nobody. Mikey. That's who I have to impress. That's all I care about, impressing. Really, when I wake up in the morning, I'm just kind of like, shit, man, how can I make Mikey think I'm cool today? Oh, I know. Not talk to him. That was a tough fry, dude. It was one of those Idaho potato fries. Like the, I forgot the brand, but it's Idaho potato. Comes in a white bag. They're like $2. Amazing fries. Like they have the skin on the side and everything. Did it in the air fryer, bit down at lunch, and it broke it up in my jaw. Had to get it removed and shit. Oreda? No, those are the El Cheapos. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do this as long as I can and watch this.
I want to bring back in our panel and talk about this issue of...
God, I gotta do that again.
73 confirmed cases and 7 known deaths from coronavirus. Today, 5.4 million confirmed cases in just over 5 months. How much is this election about the president's leadership and this pandemic?
You know, I was talking about earlier, Biden wants the turf to be on coronavirus. You heard Reince Priebus say, well, coronavirus happened.
Come
People
on.
may or may not blame the president. When Donald Trump was a candidate, he said about 9/11, George W. Bush didn't keep the country safe. In other words, he said the president was on the hook for the fact that America was attacked on 9/11. Use that same standard that Donald Trump used as a candidate and apply that to President Trump. 170,000 dead. What we see in the polls is that's the standard that voters are using and applying it to the president. High 50s or even low 60% of the country say that he has mishandled the coronavirus response.
And go here now, the senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders.
Our great nation is now living in an unprecedented moment. We're facing the worst public health crisis in 100 years and the worst economic collapse since the Great Depression. We are confronting systemic racism and the enormous threat to our planet of climate change. And in the midst of all of this, we have a president who is not only incapable of addressing these crises, but is leading us down the path of authoritarianism. This election is the most important in the modern history of this country. In response to the unprecedented crises we face, we need an unprecedented response, a movement like never before of people who are prepared to stand up and fight for democracy and decency and against greed, oligarchy, and bigotry. And we need Joe Biden as our next president. Let me take this opportunity to say a word to the millions of people who supported my campaign this year and in 2016. My friends,
I like how the two roommates are asking each other if they got a package today instead of walking out 10 feet to ask in person.
Our family. Together, we have moved this country in a bold new direction, showing that all of us, black and white, Latino, Native American, Asian American, gay and straight, native-born and immigrant, yearn for a nation based on the principles of justice, love, and compassion. Our campaign ended several months ago, but our movement continues and is getting stronger every day. Many of the ideas we fought for that just a few years ago were considered radical are now mainstream. But let us be clear. If Donald Trump is reelected, all the progress we have made will be in jeopardy. At its most basic, this election is about preserving our democracy. During this president's term, the unthinkable has become normal. He has tried to prevent people from voting, undermined the U.S. Postal Service, deployed the military and federal agents against peaceful protesters, threatened to delay the election, and suggested that he will not leave office if he loses. This is not normal, and we must never treat it like it is. Under this administration,
the microphone or the convention
has taken root in our country. I and my family, and many of yours, know the insidious way authoritarianism destroys democracy, decency, and humanity. As long as I am here, I will work with progressives, with moderates, and yes, with conservatives to preserve this nation from a threat that so many of our heroes fought and died to defeat. This president is not just a threat to our democracy, but by rejecting science, he has put our lives and health in jeopardy. Trump has attacked doctors and scientists
How about that? Is that
trying
better?
to protect us from the pandemic, while refusing to take strong action to produce the masks, gowns, and gloves our healthcare workers desperately need. Nero fiddled while Trump golfs. His actions fanned this pandemic, resulting in over 170,000 deaths and a nation still unprepared to protect its people. Furthermore, Trump's negligence has exacerbated the economic crisis we are now experiencing. Since this pandemic began, over 30 million people have lost their jobs, and many have lost their health insurance. Millions of working families are wondering how they will feed their kids, and they're worried that they will be evicted from their homes.
Yeah, it's so
and how
stupid.
has Trump responded? Instead of maintaining the $600 a week unemployment supplement that workers were receiving and the $1,200 emergency checks that many of you received, instead of helping small businesses, Trump concocted fraudulent executive orders that do virtually nothing to address the crisis while threatening the very future of Social Security and Medicare.
How about that? Is that better?
That even before Trump's negligent response to this pandemic, too many hardworking families have been caught on an economic treadmill with no hope of ever getting ahead. Together, we must build a nation that is more equitable, more compassionate, and more inclusive. I know that Joe Biden will begin that fight on day one. Let me offer you just a few examples of how Joe will move us forward. Joe supports raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. This will give 40 million workers a pay raise and push the wage scale up for everyone else. Joe will also make it easier for workers to join unions, create 12 weeks of paid family leave, fund universal pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds, and make child care affordable for millions of families. Joe will rebuild our crumbling infrastructure and fight the threat of climate change
Let's find out.
by transitioning us to 100% clean electricity over the next 15 years. These initiatives will create millions of good-paying jobs all across our country. As you know, we are the only industrialized nation not to guarantee health care for all people. While Joe and I disagree on the best path to get universal coverage, he has a plan that will greatly expand health care and cut the cost of prescription drugs. Further, he will lower the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 down to 60. To help reform our broken criminal justice system,
Yeah,
Joe
I am.
will end private prisons and detention centers, cash bail, and the school-to-prison pipeline. And to heal the soul of our nation, Joe Biden will end the hate and division Trump has created. He will stop the demonization of immigrants, the coddling of white nationalists, the racist dog whistling, the religious bigotry, and the ugly attacks on women. My friends, I say to you, to everyone who supported other candidates in the primary, and to those who may have voted for Donald Trump in the last election, the future of our democracy is at stake. The future of our economy is at stake. The future of our planet is at stake. We must come together, defeat Donald Trump, and elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as our next president and vice president. My friends, the price of failure is just too great to imagine. Thank you.
A scorching
Bernie wasn't
indictment
so
by Bernie
old.
Sanders, and that line, Nero fiddled while Rome burned, Trump golfed. Coming up shortly, we're going to hear from the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. I want to bring in Major Garrett, our CBS News chief Washington correspondent. And Major, 76% of Americans this year eligible to receive a ballot in the mail, and yet the Postal Service now warning those ballots may not make it in time.
Right, they're Postal Service issues, but Nora, the president today said something that's very important. He said the only way he can lose is if this election is rigged. How do you evaluate that kind of statement from the President of the United States? Well, let me give you two voices, both Republicans.
Which one's Skeletor?
One, Chris Krebs, who at the Department of Homeland Security oversees all cybersecurity for every election official in this country. He said this election's never been safer. And he said secretaries of state, Republican and Democrats, are the most trusted, authoritative voices on how this election will be run. Another one of them is Kim Wyman, Republican Secretary of State from Washington. She said, you know what the most important thing for an election official to do is? Make sure the losers believe the election was legitimate. President Trump today tried to undermine exactly what that Secretary of State and Secretaries of State across the country are trying to accomplish.
And why do you think the president is trying to do that, Major?
To sow confusion and doubt in the ultimate outcome. And for whatever political purpose he believes he will gain from that, people at the local level, the state level, Republicans and Democrats are working overtime, Nora, to make sure this election works, is verifiable, and most importantly, accurate.
But I thought you were referring to some weird-looking lady.
Former First Lady Michelle Obama taped her virtual address ahead of tonight's event. Eva Longoria is introducing her now. Let's listen in.
To introduce the former First Lady, Michelle Obama.
Good evening, everyone.
What's up?
It's a hard time, and everyone's feeling it in different ways. And I know a lot of folks are reluctant to tune into a political convention right now, or to politics in general. Believe me, I get that.
Champion of the universe.
But I am here tonight because I love this country with all my heart. And it pains me to see so many people hurting. I've met so many of you. I've heard your stories. And through you, I have seen this country's promise. And thanks to so many who came before me, thanks to their toil and sweat and blood, I've been able to live that promise myself. That's the story of America. All those folks who sacrificed and overcame so much in their own times because they wanted something more, something better for their kids. There's a lot of beauty in that story. There's a lot of pain in it, too. A lot of struggle and injustice and work left to do. And who we choose as our president in this election will determine whether or not we honor that struggle and chip away at that injustice and keep alive the very possibility of finishing that work. I am one of a handful of people living today who have seen firsthand the immense weight and awesome power of the presidency. And let me once again tell you this: the job is hard. It requires clear-headed judgment, a mastery of complex and competing issues, a devotion to facts and history, a moral compass, and an ability to listen, and an abiding belief that each of the 330 million lives in this country has meaning and worth. A president's words have the power to move markets. They can start wars or broker peace. They can summon our better angels or awaken our worst instincts. You simply cannot fake your way through this job. As I've said before, being president doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are.
Not quite sure, Soros.
Well, a presidential election can reveal who we are, too. And 4 years ago, too many people chose to believe that their votes didn't matter. Maybe they were fed up. Maybe they thought the outcome wouldn't be close. Maybe the barriers felt too steep, whatever the reason. In the end, those choices sent someone to the Oval Office who lost the national popular vote by nearly 3 million votes. In one of the states that determined the outcome, the winning margin averaged out to just 2 votes per precinct. 2 votes. And we've all been living with the consequences. When my husband left office with Joe Biden at his side, we had a record-breaking stretch of job creation. We'd secured the right to health care for 20 million people. We were respected around the world, rallying our allies to confront climate change. And our leaders had worked hand in hand with scientists to help prevent an Ebola outbreak from becoming a global pandemic. 4 years later, The state of this nation is very different. More than 150,000 people have died, and our economy is in shambles because of a virus that this president downplayed for too long. It has left millions of people jobless. Too many have lost their health care. Too many are struggling to take care of basic necessities like food and rent. Too many communities have been left in the lurch to grapple with whether and how to open our schools safely. Internationally, we've turned our back, not just on agreements forged by my husband, but on alliances championed by presidents like Reagan and Eisenhower. And here at home, as George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and a never-ending list of innocent people of color continue to be murdered, stating the simple fact that a Black Life Matters is still met with derision from the nation's highest office. Because whenever we look to this White House for some leadership or consolation or any semblance of steadiness, what we get instead is chaos, division, and a total and utter lack of empathy. Empathy, that's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. The ability to walk in someone else's shoes. The recognition that someone else's experience has value too. Most of us practice this without a second thought. If we see someone suffering or struggling, we don't stand in judgment, we reach out. Because there, but for the grace of God, go I. It is not a hard concept to grasp. It's what we teach our children. And like so many of you, Barack and I have tried our best to instill in our girls a strong moral foundation.
I thought that too, man.
To carry forward the values
this is a pandemic.
that our parents and grandparents poured into us.
I'm going to do mail-in.
But right now,
I think we've already signed up.
In this country are seeing what happens when we stop requiring empathy of one another. They're looking around wondering if we've been lying to them this whole time about who we are and what we truly value. They see people shouting in grocery stores, unwilling to wear a mask to keep us all safe. They see people calling the police on folks minding their own business just because of the color of their skin. They see an entitlement that says only certain people belong here. That greed is good and winning is everything, because as long as you come out on top, it doesn't matter what happens to everyone else. And they see what happens when that lack of empathy is ginned up into outright disdain. They see our leaders labeling fellow citizens enemies of the state while emboldening torch-bearing white supremacists. They watch in horror as children are torn from their families and thrown into cages, and pepper spray and rubber bullets are used on peaceful protesters for a photo op. Sadly, this is the America that is on display for the next generation. A nation that's underperforming not simply on matters of policy, but on matters of character. And that's not just disappointing, it's downright infuriating. Because I know the goodness and the grace that is out there in households and neighborhoods all across this nation. And I know that regardless of our race, age, religion, or politics, when we close out the noise and the fear and truly open our hearts, we know that what's going on in this country is just not right. This is not who we want to be. So what do we do now? What's our strategy? Over the past 4 years, a lot of people have asked me, when others are going so low, does going high still really work? My answer, going high is the only thing that works. Because when we go low, when we use those same tactics of degrading and dehumanizing others, we just become part of the ugly noise that's drowning out everything else. We degrade ourselves. We degrade the very causes for which we fight. But let's be clear. Going high does not mean putting on a smile and saying nice things when confronted by viciousness and cruelty. Going high means taking the harder path. It means scraping and clawing our way to that mountaintop. Going high means standing fierce against hatred while remembering that we are one nation under God. And if we want to survive, we've got to find a way to live together and work together across our differences. And going high means unlocking the shackles of lies and mistrust with the only thing that can truly set us free, the cold, hard truth. So let me be as honest and clear as I possibly can. Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is. Now, I understand that my message won't be heard by some people. We live in a nation that is deeply divided, and I am a Black woman speaking at the Democratic Convention. But enough of you know me by now. You know that I tell you exactly what I'm feeling. You know I hate politics. But you also know that I care about this nation. You know how much I care about all of our children. So if you take one thing from my words tonight, it is this. If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will if we don't make a change in this election. If we have any hope of ending this chaos, we have got to vote for Joe Biden like our lives depend on it. I know Joe. He is a profoundly decent man, guided by faith.
Sup, Chili?
He was a terrific vice president. He knows what it takes to rescue an economy, beat back a pandemic, and lead our country. And he listens. He will tell the truth and trust science. He will make smart plans and manage a good team. And he will govern as someone who's lived a life that the rest of us can recognize. When he was a kid, Joe's father lost his job. When he was a young senator, Joe lost his wife and his baby daughter. And when he was vice president, he lost his beloved son. So Joe knows the anguish of sitting at a table with an empty chair, which is why he gives his time so freely to grieving parents. Joe knows what it's like to struggle, which is why he gives his personal phone number to kids overcoming a stutter of their own. His life is a testament to getting back up. And he is going to channel that same grit and passion to pick us all up, to help us heal and guide us forward. Now, Joe is not perfect, and he'd be the first to tell you that. But there is no perfect candidate, no perfect president. And his ability to learn and grow, we find in that the kind of humility and maturity that so many of us yearn for right now. Because Joe Biden has served this nation his entire life without ever losing sight of who he is. But more than that, he has never lost sight of who we are, all of us. Joe Biden wants all of our kids to go to a good school, see a doctor when they're sick, live on a healthy planet. And he's got plans to make all of that happen. Joe Biden wants all of our kids, no matter what they look like, to be able to walk out the door without worrying about being harassed or arrested or killed. He wants all of our kids to be able to go to a movie or a math class without being afraid of getting shot. He wants all our kids to grow up with leaders who won't just serve themselves and their wealthy peers, but will provide a safety net for people facing hard times. And if we want a chance to pursue any of these goals, any of these most basic requirements for a functioning society, we have to vote for Joe Biden in numbers that cannot be ignored. Because right now, folks who know they cannot win fair and square at the ballot box are doing everything they can to stop us from voting. They're closing down polling places in minority neighborhoods. They're purging voter rolls. They're sending people out to intimidate voters, and they're lying about the security of our ballots. These tactics are not new. But this is not the time to withhold our votes in protest or play games with candidates who have no chance of winning. We have got to vote like we did in 2008 and 2012. We've got to show up with the same level of passion and hope for Joe Biden. We've got to vote early, in person if we can. We've got to request our mail-in ballots right now, tonight, and send them back immediately. And follow up to make sure they're received. And then make sure our friends and families do the same. We have got to grab our comfortable shoes, put on our masks, pack a brown bag dinner, and maybe breakfast too, because we've got to be willing to stand in line all night if we have to. Look, we have already sacrificed so much this year. So many of you are already going that extra mile. Even when you're exhausted, you're mustering up unimaginable courage to put on those scrubs and give our loved ones a fighting chance. Even when you're anxious, you're delivering those packages, stocking those shelves, and doing all that essential work so that all of us can keep moving forward. Even when it all feels so overwhelming, working parents are somehow piecing it all together without childcare. Teachers are getting creative so that our kids can still learn and grow. Our young people are desperately fighting to pursue their dreams. And when the horrors of systemic racism shook our country and our consciences, millions of Americans of every age, every background rose up to march for each other, crying out for justice and progress. This is who we still are. Compassionate, resilient, decent people whose fortunes are bound up with one another. And it is well past time for our leaders to once again reflect our truth. So it is up to us to add our voices and our votes to the chorus of history, echoing heroes like John Lewis, who said, "When you see something that is not right, you must say something. You must do something." That is the truest form of empathy. Not just feeling, but doing. Not just for ourselves or our kids, but for everyone, for all our kids. And if we want to keep the possibility of progress alive in our time, if we want to be able to look our children in the eye after this election, we have got to reassert our place in American history. And we have got to do everything we can to elect my friend Joe Biden as the next president of the United States. Thank you all. God bless.
And the passionate and emotional former First Lady of the United States. And you see there,
I would vote
the watch parties
for Michelle
from
Obama
across the country.
if she ran for president. I would vote for her.
For her
Somebody
remarks,
turn your ringer off.
with not only a character endorsement of Joe Biden, but a searing indictment of Donald Trump. and also an exhortation to go out and vote early, as she said, and in person if you can. I want to bring in Valerie Jarrett, a former advisor to President Barack Obama. And Valerie,
Space Station 420, you're retired, and I'm not looking for a job. I don't blame you. I also am surprised that somebody with the name Space Station 420 would be retired.
People couldn't be bothered to vote in the 2016 election.
By choice.
This seems so personal, and so she seems so anguished by the idea that people would not vote.
Well, yes, of course she is deeply anguished because she predicted the results. And now here we are 4 years later, and it has turned out to be even worse than we would have imagined. And it was a deeply emotional speech. You could hear it in her voice shaking at times. Her love of her country is what motivated her to want to speak so candidly and directly. Now you know, Nora, why we used to call her the closer. Who better to end an evening about we the people than someone who knows the people, who's traveled this country, red states, blue states, and has seen our goodness and is so frustrated by what she's seeing coming out of this White House. And so I think her knowing Joe Biden the way she does, having watched him up close and personally, knowing his character, his empathy, his willingness to listen, and seeing how we are in chaos, as she put it, is what motivated her to give such a forthright, direct, and very clear message.
Valerie, thank you so much. Let's bring in the rest of our panel. And John, Michelle Obama saying, if you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will.
Hey, hear those dudes doing karate with the white guitarist.
On alarms where it says break glass in case of emergency.
What is
there was
going
glass
on over here in the
all
corner?
over the place by the end of this speech. This was an emergency
Can these dudes
speech
shut up so I can hear
someone
this?
who's not a politician, who has written one of the most
Oh
successful
my God, I need to
books
hear this.
in modern times. And that speech
shut
will be
up,
passed
dude.
around.
Go to the
And
music.
we talked about all the limitations of this convention. Being able to give a speech that gets passed around and
What
motivates
is that, Chili?
Democratic voters.
I know,
and also
we're
makes
watching
the
this,
character
dude.
claim
That's
from
bullshit.
a non-political perspective. Obviously, she's at a convention; it's political, but she's not a politician. This was this will have to be answered, and this again is the turf that the Democrats want the campaign to be on. Character, because as the First Lady, former First Lady, put it tonight, that's their direct attack at Donald Trump.
I mean, there were so many lines that will be discussed of this speech, as you mentioned, but also we've got to be willing to pack our dinner, a brown bag, and maybe breakfast.
Yeah,
and wait
but he
in
looked
line
awesome. I
all
wanted to
night.
see that. I didn't care what
She
these
made the
people were
case that,
saying.
you know, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by over 3 million, but we know she lost the electoral vote in part because of more than 70,000 votes in 3 states, that it was that slim of a margin that people that didn't turn out to vote, that makes a difference.
Well, I think
look, there he is
Michelle
again.
Obama understands her power, and she's so effective not only because of the strength of her message, but the clarity in which she presents it. And she's talking to everyone. She knows what to say.
This chick
and
looks
sure,
like
again, that she's inclusive.
what Estee Lauder smells like. And then there's this rad dude over here dancing, and I got to listen to her.
Joe Biden. You know, he is a good guy. So
I gotta
thought
find
it was
this.
interesting the way that she talked about Trump, because usually she doesn't. She only kind of refers to him without saying his name. This time she said his name. She said he's ineffective. She said he's not up to living this moment, and ending that phrase with "it is what it is," which is a phrase that Trump used when he said, how many people died? So many people died. Well, it is what it is. But I think behind all this, she's motivating people to get out and vote, even with the subliminal message of her small necklace.
Oh, it's here.
Vote.
Yes, and Jamal, it was as
We the people call the 48th Quadrennial Democratic National Convention to order.
Today, we gather virtually. However, we gather unified in spirit.
Of all the shitty times I've ever had in my life, timing.
To us to carry on the fight for justice. Our actions will be their legacies.
That makes me so mad. I'm going to find that on YouTube here.
Can't let up.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will lead by example. It'll be science, not politics or ego, that will drive.
Tonight.
Oh wait, no way.
Yeah, I definitely think
Who watches
being a
Spectrum
Bernie
News?
supporter, the experience that I had in 2016, being in the room with everyone while he was giving the speech, I see the same energy.
The future of our democracy is at stake. The future of our economy is at stake. The future of our planet is at stake.
If we want to be able to look our children in the eye after this election, we have got to reassert our place in American history. And we have got to do everything we can to elect my friend Joe Biden as the next president of the United States.
Yeah, I have no idea, Station.
Hello,
No
I
idea.
am Pastor Jerry Young. Let us pray together. Almighty God, we are grateful to you for having granted to our nation the democratic ideal by which our destiny may be fashioned. We are thankful to you for having blessed these United States of America to survive the climate of confusion and chaos, racism and injustice, uncertainty, helplessness, and irresponsibility. We now, O Lord, invoke your presence and participation throughout the life of this convention. It is our prayer that you will enable this convention to produce a vision that will promote healing, hope, and health for our nation. A vision that will inspire, inform, and be inclusive of all Americans. A vision that will rekindle in us a renewed commitment to the high ideal of our democracy, that we are created equal and are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We would pray that you would grant to those to whom we will entrust with the authority of government to be competent, compassionate, courageous, committed, and consecrated, and guide us, the people, to support them in all good and wise legislation, that we all may prosper under an equal law. Defend our liberties, and grant us a sense of our own responsibility. Achieve unity of purpose among us, and grant unto us the victory of faith and freedom in the ideas to which we are committed as a nation. Strengthen us with honor and grant us peace. Provide us, O God, with the strength and spiritual sustenance to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. In the strong name of Jesus, amen.
Delegates and distinguished guests, we've concluded this evening's convention program. The convention will stand in recess until tomorrow evening.
Oh, that's it? That's it? All right. I mean, cool. There we go. Thank you, Chili. Now, as I was saying, the perfect recipe for CBAT. No, I was saying that I don't have a political affiliation. I just, I don't care about I mean, I care about politics, but I don't care about politics. But it's a good time to pay attention right now. So what am I going to play tonight? It's 11:14. I got a few minutes before my old ass has to go to bed to wake up at 6 a.m. with a screaming baby with shit all over him. What we got? I mean, yeah, you wipe it off. You don't just send them to school with shit on them. How were you raised? I don't know. I don't think I can play Battle Royale right now, Mikey. I don't. Like, it's, oh man. Like, I love Call of Duty. Well, now you wipe your own ass, but when you were a baby and got woken up in the morning, somebody had to wipe your ass. Maybe you're that skilled. I don't know. Maybe you were born a ass wiping virtuoso. Like, it just made sense to you in diapers. Like, oh, I should wipe this. Confused why nobody else was doing it. Play some game for babies or something. I'll play one match of Call of Duty. Then I gotta be donezo. Did you really? Till you were 17? People have fetishes for that. Like, they will settle for another human being that's really not their match just because they're cool with wiping asses. Some weird fetishes in the world. I used to date a girl. I was like 24, 25, somewhere around that. But she just had this thing of, like, she liked to feel pain in her chest area, so she would, like, take bottle caps and put them in her bra, and she would just sit there and press on them as hard as she could. Like at a party at a bar, it didn't matter. You just see her kind of sneak one up there. Fucking weird, man. That's the wrong screen. I don't remember. I drank a lot back then. But I know that she would go home, and on the morning of the nightstand, that's a really loud intro. On the nightstand, there'd be like a whole little pile full of bottle caps, and she'd have these little marks. It was weird, dude. Like, super duper weird. Prepping for fun. She was doing something. Oh my god. I hate you so much, Call of Duty. Buy back solos so you just keep money on yourself? What? Think so. You're probably right. I wonder what happened to her. No idea what happened to her. I don't even remember her last name. Oh, I might want to update this. She works for Pepsi now? Like at the plant? Nah, she's no way they'd put her in the plant. She works behind Pepsi now.
Get yourselves a proper warm-up. We'll be deploying soon. Enemy soldier incoming.
All right, sorry. I just meant that she just, you know, it was a really bad, she's a hooker joke. Like a really bad. Oh, this is that one, man. I almost bought this gun that had the big ass.
Warming up.
Yeah, okay, good. Yours is better. Yeah, this is sweet skin. Main thing I love about it is that big ass. Bullet butt belt. Got nothing.
Battle Royale. Be advised, gas is closing in. Proceed to the safe zone.
Anyone need this?
Oh, of course. Everybody. All right. I got an idea. All right, man. Take it easy, Chili.
Eliminate all targets in the AO.
Oh, I knew I didn't want to play this game. So as long as you have money, you come back. That's pretty cool. I'll play this more often as long as I don't have to sit around and wait for an hour for somebody to buy me back. I know what you're asking, self. Billy, did you run? Fuck yeah, I run. Alright, I need some money so I can respawn. Ooh. How much money buys you back? It's the first time I've ever shot a brew, and I like it.
I'm driving.
Cool. Now, will I stay in this car the whole game? Yeah. Ooh, you can see me. Alright, this is gonna be stupid. He's right behind. He's right behind me.
Got a loadout drop inbound.
Alright, he took my car.
Got gas inbound. Safe zone relocated.
Should have saw that coming. Something tells me I'm not gonna make it by the time. Oh, there's a four-wheeler. And I bet you it's somebody up there.
Losing ground.
This is probably dumb. Get up there! What are you doing?
I'm driving.
I'm surprised I'm still alive right now, to be honest with you.
Enemy UAV overhead. Be advised, there's an enemy team hunting you.
Good. Bring it. I need some more money or I'm not coming back.
Enemy UAV overhead.
Some damn money. Can I have 2 Bruins?
Gas is moving in. New safe zone located.
I got 55 seconds. I can wait it out. Come on.
really?
Yeah. Good kill, Cam.
Gas is inbound. Enemy UAV overhead. Enemy UAV overhead. Remain in the AO.
Ooh, nice call. That was nice. It was a good little run. But I got money. Oh, but I lost my Bruin. Oh, no. That was stupid. Yeah, I did that. I did that. I need to unlock the Bruin. That's the first time I've ever used it. I like it. Alright, it's 11:38. Good game. Thank you everybody on Trovo, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. Well, not Facebook. I didn't have that on tonight. But thanks a lot. Y'all have a really great night. And